Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, it is just me. First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use, and thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, Tom at realrecoverytalk.com and Ben at realrecoverytalk.com. As you can see, today we don't have Ben. He's off doing his thing. He's got some work that he's got to catch up on. So it's just me. And I'm going to record and talk about something that I've talked about in the past. And it's something that I am trying to improve myself. Definitely at this point in time in my life, I'm trying to improve it. But it's something that a lot of people tend to neglect whenever they are clean and sober. And you've heard me talk about this a lot. But I feel like I haven't done an episode devoted to this in a while. So this is why I wanted to bring it up. And honestly, it's easy for me to talk about. So what I want to discuss is the importance of exercise and nutrition when it comes to getting clean and sober. And we've talked about this a lot, and as you know, at this point in time, Ben is currently training for a bodybuilding show, and I will say that what Ben is doing in comparison to what people should be doing, and I think Ben would agree that what he's doing isn't necessarily the healthiest way to go about things, but he has an end goal in mind, and he wants to compete in this bodybuilding show. At a point in time in my life, I was training for a competition in powerlifting, and I will say that that probably wasn't the healthiest thing for me to be doing at that given time. So I wanted to discuss this because, as you know, up to this point, we run Rock Recovery Center, and a big part of our program is health, but not just putting down the substances and being clean and sober, but also the fitness and the nutrition aspect of it. And the reason that we do that is because we have found, not only from our own experiences, but at this point working with hundreds, if not thousands of other people, nutrition and exercise directly affects the success of somebody's sobriety. And what I mean by that is if I can get somebody on a, not a crazy exercise regimen, not some sort of crazy diet plan, but I can get somebody to be more mindful about what they're putting in their body in terms of the foods that they're eating and the drinks that they're drinking. And I can get them to go from not exercising at all to maybe just incorporating a few, 10 or 20 minute walks every day. It drastically improves their moods. And we see it here firsthand. And that is why we made it a point to have this as part of our program, because honestly, Ben and I knew what it did for us. And we know what it does for thousands and thousands and thousands of other people. It's no secret that exercise is probably, if not the best antidepressant that you could have. And we're in a society today that really adopts the idea of take a pill for this, take a pill for that. If you have depression, take a pill. If you have anxiety, take a pill. And it's not that we're against that, but what we try and do is get people to understand that there's more to this than taking a pill. There's many different things that you can do even before going down that road of committing to a medication. And so we like to expose our clients to those different things to try and help them ultimately, maybe not, or if they're on the medications, wean off, or maybe they don't need to go on them at all because they have found that when they exercise, they're not depressed. And when they eat well, they're not depressed, or they're not as groggy during the day, or they don't feel like absolute crap. So I came up with 5 main points. And I don't want to spend a lot of time on these points, but it's going to give you a good idea as to kind of the mindset that we have and why we implement these. And hopefully you can adopt a few of these and see in your own journey how it works for you. And hopefully it can help you in your sobriety And so the first one is definitely going to be the physical health aspect of it. It's no secret, diet and exercise, it improves your overall physical health. We have for many years, if you're listening to this podcast, or you're a loved one of somebody that's an alcoholic or a drug addict, you could probably understand that we don't really take care of our bodies when we're in active addiction because it's not a priority for us. We really don't care. And if we did care, we wouldn't be consuming massive amounts of booze. We wouldn't be shooting up fentanyl. We wouldn't be doing cocaine, smoking crack, smoking meth, doing what we've been doing. Putting ourselves in extremely dangerous situations to get our drugs, prostituting ourselves, whatever the case is, driving drunk, the list goes on and on and on. We obviously have no regard for our physical body. Now, when we get clean and sober, we hope that mindset can shift and we can understand the importance of getting our bodies back to some sort of normalcy in terms of health and wellness. And so the physical health aspect of it goes without saying. It's going to improve. I know a lot of alcoholics and drug addicts, when they come into treatment, a lot of them have elevated blood pressure, and it helps with that, obviously. It helps with, building muscle mass. I mean, muscle mass is very important to have. It helps you. It helps your immune system. It helps a lot of different things. Just being strong in your body, having muscle mass is very important. You want to be able to be mobile. You want to be able to move around and jump and swim and do all these things. It's important for just overall healthy lifestyles. It's important to be able to incorporate those. And that goes for everybody. You don't even have to be a drug addict or an alcoholic to understand that exercise improves your overall physical health. But for us, it's especially important because we spent so many years just neglecting those things that it's going to take a little bit more time for us, maybe, than the average person to get to a level of normalcy where we could actually say that our body is healthy and, operating the way that it's supposed to. So the second thing is reduction of cravings. And there's many studies that have proven this. And, you could do the research yourself. Just get on the Googler and look. But a healthy exercise regimen and healthy eating, adopting somewhat of a relatively healthy diet, minimally processed foods, whole foods, stuff like that. There's a direct correlation of reduction of cravings. And again, we see this here because we find it's very important that our clients exercise. And we can have somebody that is newly sober and they have high cravings, so on and so forth, and we get them out into the gym over the course of a few days and just run some basic workouts with them. It's nothing crazy, maybe just some basic movements, some squats, some deadlifts, some bench pressing, get your heart rate elevated a little bit, go on some walks, do some farmer carries with kettlebells, box step ups. We're not doing full on, high intensity interval training or anything of the sorts. We're just getting them out there, getting the blood flowing, getting them moving. And we'll ask them, hey, how are your cravings? How's your emotional just self doing right now? And 9 times out of 10, they say, I feel better. So to me, it makes absolute 100% perfect sense as to why you should be incorporating this. If in fact you really want to adopt a sober lifestyle, nobody wants to have cravings. Nobody wants to have to go through that because it's really tough. It is. And when somebody's newly sober, we want to be able to mitigate that as much as possible because oftentimes when people relapse, it's because just the cravings are so high. And they don't want to go through it, and they don't know how any other ways, and they ultimately end up going and relapsing and just start everything back over. So it's very important, just in the cravings aspect of it, incorporate some exercise, eat a relatively decent diet. Don't fill your diet full of Ben & Jerry's and DiGiorno pizza. That's what I did in the very beginning, and it was awful. Try and eat as much whole foods as possible. Get some proteins in, get some healthy fats in, get some healthy carbohydrates in. Look, if you want to go out and get ice cream and pizza and have a burger every now and again, go for it. By all means, I do all the time. But don't make it the staple of your diet, because what you directly consume in terms of a food aspect of it, that's what you're going to get out. And it's just not good. So, all right, the third point is stress reduction. And this rings true to me even today, and will always ring true, and I think does for many people. When I'm stressed out, the number one thing that I can do for myself is exercise. And it's something that I incorporate as much as I possibly can. And, running an operation here and having 3 kids at home and a wife and dogs. And, my father lives with us now because, as you know, he had a stroke just over a year ago. I feel like there's a lot of stress in my life, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But I also need to be able to understand, okay, I can't let this stress consume me. I have to have some sort of outlet. And for me, working out, and particularly strength training for me, is a way to relieve some of that stress. And it's very important. And I have kids, and I have a house, and I have a career, and I have this and that, and I have very high stress levels. But even people that are newly sober, they have a lot of stress too. Maybe they have legal issues going on. They have creditors that are breathing down their neck. They have, their family wants nothing to do with them. They ruined all their relationships. The list can go on and on. The stress is there. It's just our stressors are different. And so being able to understand, what can I do to help mitigate some of that stress or help me cope with some of that stress? Very, very important. So that's thing number 3. Number 4 is mood regulation, and it kind of ties into all of them. I could tell you this: when we have clients here that are in a bad mood, they're just grumpy. They're, for whatever reason, and it happens often, we'll get them out into the gym, and we'll, again, get them working out a little bit. I remember in particular, we had one client, and this goes back probably about a year. He came in one morning, and he had anger issues to begin with, but he was just angry, and nobody wanted to be around him. And it was just one of those situations where, what are you going to do? Nobody wants to be around him, so on and so forth. You don't want to put him in the group because you could just tell that he's not going to contribute anything to the group, and ultimately the group would be ruined, and nobody gets anything out of it because you got this dummy in there that's being just angry and whatever. Well, Ben and I grabbed him, and we took him out into the gym, and we pulled the rower off the wall, and we said, get on here, row 500 meters. So he rowed his 500 meters. And I think we had him do a couple other things, in terms of like lifting some weights and something. It was probably 15, 20 minutes. And, after that, I'm not going to say he wasn't angry anymore, but it definitely helped. And it got him to a place to where, Ben and I then could sit him down and have a conversation with him. Hey, what's going on? And I think at the time it was something to do with his wife or his girlfriend or something, probably. But he was in a different headspace at that point because he got a lot of that out. And rather than taking it out on his peers, which that wasn't his intent and never would be his intent, but it was pent up anger, resentment, and it was coming out sideways, and nobody wanted to be around him. And Ben and I knew this is probably going to be a good thing for us to do. And we're able to have a conversation with him around it. And ultimately, it was very productive, and he was able to go into the group and actually talk to his peers and apologize to him and tell him what's going on. So it turned into really a therapeutic moment, not only for him, but for the other clients, and honestly for myself and Ben, because every time those situations happen, it's an opportunity for Ben and I to practice what we preach. And it was cool. It was good. Everybody was great. And that is a direct reflection of exercise, what it can do for you, the nutrition aspect of it too. Like it's very important because you want to be in a good mood. You do. Like nobody wants to be just down and out all the time, or walking around in anger and just, grumpy, and nobody wants to be around you. And if nobody wants to be around you, you end up isolating. And if you end up isolating, you end up picking up and you end up drinking. It could turn into a total mess. So the fifth thing and the last thing is and this I think is extremely, extremely important. The social support that you can get from exercise it's very important. And if, again, you've been listening for long enough, you know how much I talk about the importance of community when getting sober. I would argue that the community aspect is the most important aspect of it. And some people would argue me on that, but for me, it's true. Working the steps was obviously very important for me. Going to meetings was very important for me. Doing service work was very important. But at the crux of all of that, it was the community that I was building. And if it wasn't for the people that I have met through the years, through this process, I wouldn't still be doing what I'm doing. I built relationships with people that are worth having, friendships that they have something to offer me. I have something to offer them. And this happens too with exercise. Ben, he goes to the gym every single day. And it's interesting. He mentioned to me maybe a week or two ago, and he, I don't know if he forgot his headphones or what, but he he either meant to or didn't mean to not have his headphones. Maybe he forgot them, or he made the conscious decision to not wear them. And he said, Tom, it's the craziest thing. I meet people at the gym, and I've been talking to different people, and I've built relationships with people there that I never would have built otherwise, because I normally put my headphones in and I'm listening to my music or my podcasts or whatever, and just lifting and get in and get out. And even for him, and he's 13 years sober, that was something that he recognized. And it's true for everybody. When you're in a setting like a gym, you can meet people and you can, talk with them and converse with them, so on and so forth. And it's just another opportunity to build social supports with people, build friendships, build networks of people, build community around you, because that's very important when we get sober. Oftentimes when we're drinking and drugging, we isolate ourselves, or if we're not isolators, we're isolated in our own being. We might physically be around people, but we're alone, if that makes any sense. So the social aspect of it, I think, is very important. The friendships that you can make, the network that you can build, it's really cool. It's really good to see. And I think that when you are on your journey of sobriety, this is such an important aspect of it that it can't be left alone. You have to partake in this. You don't have a choice. Well, you have a choice, but if you choose not to, you're really not serving yourself any justice by not partaking in it. So I hope that helps you. Again, it's something that I'm working on even today, to this day, because I go in and out. I'll be on for 3 to 6 months of working out hardcore, 3 to 5 times a week. I'm strength training. I got my diet relatively dialed in, and then I'll go 6 months where things kind of fall off, and then I have to get back on the wagon, I suppose. And, so it's something, and you're not going to get it perfect, but having the mindset of, this is who I want to be, how am I going to get there, I think is very important. I want to be somebody that's healthy. I want to be somebody that is going to be able to watch my kids grow up and hopefully have grandchildren and stuff like that. I know what I want to be. What is it going to take for me to be able to do that? And whatever that is for you might be different, but just understand that it does take legwork, and, walking into the gym for the very first time isn't going to be easy. It can be intimidating. But I'll tell you this, The gym, and I don't care what gym you go to, it's one of the most inviting places that you can go into. It's intimidating because you think that, oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. But everybody in that gym, I guarantee you, would be willing to help you if you asked. So don't let that hold you back from going in, because it's a very inviting place. It's a very supportive place. And of course, there's going to be people in there that you don't want nothing to do with, but the vast majority of people inside those gyms would be willing to help. So make sure you do it. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you could always email me, tom@realrecoverytalk.com. And you could always reach Ben at realrecoverytalk.com. And in the end, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.